Coming to tonight's meeting, the Board of Supervisors. We're going to begin, as always, with the salute to the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Pullen, take the roll, please.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Okay. Thank Mr. Kinney for leading us, as always, in the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's see, I think you missed the last meeting. We weren't sure who was supposed to start it.
No.
Okay. All right, we're going to start with public comment this evening. As Mr. Gray is getting the sign-up sheet. A pretty straightforward agenda. Certificate of appropriateness for a property in Yardley Avenue. A few public works items, a few things for our parks. Thank you very much, Mr. Gray. Okay, first name on the list is Mr. Kinney.
Rolling Kenny Falls Township. First, I owe gentleman an apology. Last time I was here, I said that I told Mr. Wilson that I would get him off the board. And what I really said was, we'll have to get a new board. So I just want to apologize. I said it. I listened to that the other night, and it sounded like a threat. I'm too damn old to threaten anybody. So I asked you last time I was here, or two times, three meetings ago, whether or not you would show the 1-7 meeting. And you said you'd discuss it. Did you discuss it?
I thought we had talked about adding it on the one meeting you had mentioned. Right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Oh, you are going? Good.
Have we done it already? Is it done, or?
I don't know. I can find out, and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. The reason I say that, if I remember correctly what I said there, I'm not going to repeat it tonight because I probably wouldn't remember it, but everything I said that night I think is coming true today. Because none of us knew 6 months ago to the day that there was any survivors in Benghazi. And Terry, or Perry, or whatever his name is, was speaking to a survivor in the hospital yesterday. So there is survivors of that. We may find out what happened. Because, you know, I'm a Democrat. I'll back every Democrat I can. But when anybody leaves 4 Americans, brave Americans, sit there and do nothing to save their lives, while you got Marines 100 miles away, could be there in 5 minutes, and they chose not to do nothing. That's the head. Just as something like that would happen in here, I blame him. And it's just not right. I mean, everybody might be against me, but that's the way I feel. What else? Oh, Thursday, down the senior center, Galloway and his group's going to be there for tax. You know, get a couple $100 back on taxes. So anybody, I don't know if you have to be seniors or what. I know it has to do with your Social Security. Half of your Social Security can't make 35,000 or something. And you fall in that category, stop by. I think it's from 10 to 1. Might get yourself a check. And Penn Manor's opening up this month. They got a couple on the agenda, school kids coming out. I was just going to ask about you. About time you showed up. I got you on my list. How you feeling?
A little bit better, thanks.
Thank you. Good. Hey, Bill, was that good enough? Can I sit down now? Good night. God bless you.
Thank you.
He says I still look like Pope John the 23rd. Maybe I'll come in and bless everybody one day.
Mr. Reese, you're next.
Good evening, everyone. Just a few announcements. Our annual Easter egg hunt is going to take place on Saturday, March 23rd, down at the Falls Township Community Park Phase 1 Pavilion and Soccer Fields, starting at 1 p.m. This event is free and for children ages 10 and under. Our annual Breakfast with the Bunny event will be held on Saturday, March 30th, over at the Falls Township Senior Center from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. This event is free and for families with children ages 10 and under. We continue to accept summer camp registrations. Our summer camp program is being held this summer at Walt Disney Elementary School from July 1st to August 9th. This camp is for children ages 5 to 14 years old. The camp runs Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., with before and after care available from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. If you have any questions regarding any Parks Recreation matters, you can either go online at www.fallstownship.com. That's www.fallstwp.com and click on Parks and Recreation. Or you can call the Parks and Recreation office at 215-949-9000, extension 220 or 221. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Reese, before we?
No.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Mr. Reese. Excuse me. Gallus Obert?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I was very happy to see something added to your agenda, and that's the board supervisor's agenda notes and so forth. I don't know when you decided to do that, but that was would be really appreciated. Before I go too far, I just want to show you, and I had planned on talking about something like that. I just want to show you the board agenda from the Pennsboro School Board, how many pages it is. And they list every item they buy in here. I don't know whether you've ever seen it or not. So nobody has any questions on that. But my question is, do we ever see the engineer's report out here on the floor? Or is that gonna, I know it's been for years, it's been the engineer says, you have my report, and you guys all say, yeah, and that's the end of it. Nobody knows what the heck Mr. Sullivan does.
Well, usually we typically do not make it available. A lot of it, it includes basically every project going on in the township, whether it's township, our project, or whether it's just a development of some kind. And a lot of projects are listed even after they're finished because they might be in a maintenance bond period. So quite frankly, a lot of it is very repetitive over the, and it
Well,
doesn't really
I
change a
just,
whole lot.
I just
But-
thought maybe it would be nice to see some engineer's report too.
Well, we do usually ask, not always, actually, we always ask Mr. Sullivan just to give us an update on some things, and board members usually have questions about some of the bigger projects,
Yeah,
but
but-
we don't typically make it available, no.
By the time the people in the audience hear what he says and try and piece it together, you're on to something else.
Oh.
So, I wrote notes down here and I can't read them, and that's pretty bad. Somebody asked me if you had ever spent any money on the boat ramp for handicapped people. And I said, I don't have a clue whether they did or not. But I looked on the net for handicapped people and boat ramps, and it can lead into another boat ramp. That's for sure, loaders and rails and so forth. And then I see that, I think you're talking about a fishing pier. Why can't they fish off the boat ramp?
Because it's for boaters. It's not big enough, quite frankly, to accommodate boaters and people who want to fish.
Well, you know what? People have been fishing off the coastline for 50 years or more years. I don't see why we need to spend more money on a fishing pier.
Okay.
Somebody will go take a flying jump, and that's the way it goes. Mr. Dents and Mr. Rocco, a while ago, I believe, as I checked the notes, you two voted against the Biles Island activity. And the next time the Biles Island activity came up, you voted for it. What swayed your mind to vote for it rather than against it?
I was always in support of the smaller portion of Biles Island, the northern part, which is what we're developing. I was never a huge fan of the overall spending money on something, the whole island, when I don't think it's something we're going to ever see in the next 20 years or so.
You know,
But
you're
I was always in support of the northern tip that is the part
Okay.
that we're going to be getting.
Mr. Rocco?
If I recall, I wasn't sure I was very happy with the presentation, so.
Oh, okay. You know, it's amazing. If you look on, the maps that are available on the internet, okay, Google Earth, they got 11 lakes in there. Why are we going to spend money to have a park ranger and people maintain and so forth, something that's going to be with us forever? It's like the park, and the park serves a lot of people, but I can't see where that island is going to serve very many people. You got poison ivy, you got snakes, you got a lot of water, like more than at the park. And you're going to have a big liability, I would think, but I'm not sure. So you guys will have to keep that in mind. That's for darn sure. Okay? That's enough. Oh, how are we doing with the intersection at Pep Boys and so forth? That's been on
You mean by the old Fuddruckers?
Fuddruckers, yeah. What's going on with that? That's been, let's see, Fuddruckers left, and the other place left, and nothing happens. We lost 2 businesses and so forth. How about if we spend some money and kick the politicians upstate, you know, and say, come on, you know, let's fix it up, because that is a tremendous traffic problem.
Agreed. It is something that PennDOT had on their list of projects to do several years ago.
Right.
There was dispute over one property that was still had to be sort of settled in terms of ownership and who was going to get compensated for losing it, et cetera, et cetera. By the time that was done, PennDOT had removed it from their list of projects, and then the economy went south, and so the money for transportation projects went away. As of now, I mean, we ask about it periodically. When's it going to come back up? And we haven't really gotten much of an answer.
How about if we make a trip to Harrisburg and ask them eyeball to eyeball?
We've
With a-
done that. We've had a state senator in here with people from PennDOT, and they don't give a straight answer even to the state senator.
With a big stick with a nail in it, just to get their
That's-
attention now, that's all.
No, I'm
Okay?
more in favor of that approach,
Okay.
actually. So I'd
Okay.
leave it at that point.
That's fine. I see also tonight you have, how many items? You have 14 items.
Right.
And you got 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got 8 of them. All you have to do is approve the purchase of spending money. If they didn't have that, you guys would be out of here at 7:30. There would be nothing else to discuss. That's for darn sure. I know it's probably been well thought of, but I'd like to see some more input on it from the people in the audience sometimes.
Well,
Okay.
So we open up to public comment for all of those items. So, you know, certainly any of the purchases we're making for public works or for the parks or, you know, certainly you're welcome to make comments on, as everybody else is.
That'll do, you know that. That's for sure. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Those are all the names on the list. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? See no hands. Okay. We'll move to second item on our agenda, which is a certificate of appropriateness for 26 Yardley Avenue. Mr. Gray?
Yes, this is a certificate of appropriateness, as mentioned, for 26 Yardley Avenue. The name of the applicant is Sherry Putnam. Date of the application was February 7th. This was reviewed and approved by the HARB board. They are proposing the replacement of 17 windows, 15 vinyl double-hung windows with grids, and 2 slider windows with no grids. There's no change in size from the currently existing windows. The board is asked to consider this certificate of appropriateness, and tonight, the applicant, Sherry Putnam, is here to answer questions.
Okay, yeah, I see Ms. Putnam sitting in the, well, I'm going to say the back, but midway back. Are there any, it's a pretty complete packet here, photographs of everything, of every window and notes with every window that's going to be replaced, even a manufacturer's brochure of the windows. Do board members have any comments or questions for Ms. Putnam?
No.
No.
No. The only question I had is you're going to replace them with vinyl, correct?
Yes, yeah, it's
And they are vinyl now. This is a replacement of vinyl windows with vinyl windows. Yeah. That's all I have.
Okay, and we appreciate as well, of course, living in a historic district, of course, brings responsibilities alongside the normal responsibilities of being a homeowner. But we appreciate the fact that trying to maintain the integrity of the appearance, that replacing the windows pretty much grid by grid, you know, if it's a 6-grid window, it's getting replaced with a 6-grid window. It's so we appreciate that, and obviously we know it makes it a little bit more expensive. But no, I don't have any other questions. Anybody else?
No.
Okay. All right, is there a motion then to approve the certificate of appropriateness for 26 Yardley Avenue?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is consider authorizing requests for proposals for the concession services at the Pinewood Pool. Mr. Gray?
Yes, this is an RFP for the concession stand service at the Pinewood Pool. This would be for the period from May 25th through September 2nd, the entire pool season. The RFPs are required back to the township by 11 a.m. Monday, April 8th. There is a listing of the different items that are requested for the RFP as well, and the board is asked to consider this RFP at this time.
Okay. I know Mr. Dents has worked a lot on issues with the Pinewood Pool and also with the recent request for proposals we did for concession services at the park. Did you want to just say a few words about this?
Sure. The past few years, the Pinewood Pool has I'm not going to say lost money, but we haven't been doing very well at the pool. So one way to trim some fat, if you would, and try and save some money was, rather than paying people to sit there and vend our food and break even at the end of the year, if we're lucky, we would find someone to come in and do it for us and just pay us a fee, which would save us a lot of payroll and a lot of headaches of having to deal with it. And that's basically where it comes from.
Okay. All right, and this is, again, just authorizing the requests, just like with the proposals for people coming into the park to vend. They would come in, they'd be reviewed by Mr. Gray as well as our solicitor's office, just to make sure they comply with all the requirements we have here. Obviously, as you can imagine, pretty much the same kinds of requirements we have with the concession coming into the township park. Making sure that you know, anything that's sold, obviously no alcohol, obviously nothing that's you know, above what normal sort of concession stand candy and snacks type of thing. Anybody that comes in has to have background clearances and police clearances, you know, which is something standard, of course. Things like not allowing any containers that are glass, okay, which would, of course, would be a bad thing with you know, a concrete deck all around the pool. People running around barefoot. So, but I think this is a good idea, something that we, you know, I appreciate the work that went into it. Are there any comments or questions from board members? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Snipes?
None.
All right, Mr. Dents?
Two things. We did talk about the township will have the final say in what can and can't be sold. One thing, the past couple years, we're not allowed to sell any hot food or anything that's cooked or that isn't prepackaged. If someone's coming in that has a vending cart and that's what they're going to use, and it's already been approved by the Bucks County Department of Health to sell whatever they want, then it could be an option to sell hot dogs or whatever they may sell on that cart. Also, the utilities provided, it says electricity. Is there water available as well? I assume there would be. It's a pool. Mr. Arneo, you're here? We could provide water as well, right? Not pool water, but... So we might want to add that as well. That's all I had.
Mr. Rocco?
I have none.
Okay. Any comments or questions from public? See no hands. Okay, then, is there a motion to authorize the requests for the proposals for the concession services at the Pinewood Pool?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. Let's see, items 4, 5, and 6 involve Mr. Arneo. So we're going to go through these. We'll do them, obviously you have to vote on them one at a time. I guess it makes sense just to have the discussions on them one at a time. We'll start with item number 4, which is an asphalt milling machine for Public Works Department. Mr. Gray?
Public Works Department is requesting to purchase an asphalt milling machine for use in repairing the roadways within the township. The purchase price for this item will be over the $18,900 bidding threshold, and therefore it must be advertised and competitively bid. At this time, the board is asked to consider authorizing advertisement for an asphalt milling machine for the Public Works Department.
Okay, evening, Mr. Arneo.
Good evening.
Just give us an idea, I guess, of, I think we have one. Do we have a milling machine now?
We have a small one that goes on our loader.
Okay.
It's real inadequate. It's about 18 years old, and it's mainly used for like construction joints when we're paving, stuff like that. And to be honest with you, we really don't even use it because it's very slow. It's something we could probably auction, after we get a new one. But it's nothing compared to this one. This one is it's called an asphalt zipper. It's 24 foot wide. It can cut 8 inches deep. And with all the money you guys are approving for road work, it's kind of going to expedite how we do our repairs. Currently, we get a bad spot in the road, even if it's a new road, you have to jackhammer. You bring the backhoe in, you can't always get just that top wearing course off. That's all crumbled. So you end up into the base. So then you're adding stone, you're adding binder, you're adding another day, you have to top it. So this is going to be a great piece of equipment to move things along.
Okay. Comments or questions for Mr. Arneo regarding the asphalt milling machine? We're just, again, going out to bid for this, not purchasing it yet. Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Snipes?
So were you saying, Mr. Arneo, that we actually haven't been using a milling machine? We've just been trying to use a front-end loader to pick up pieces and jackhammer them out as we go along?
Yeah, smaller areas. I mean, when we
That's
pave,
small.
we mill first. We run a machine. We're talking like a 6 or an 8 foot machine, like General Highway has. But for smaller patches, we're jackhammering and digging out with the backhoe. And then, like I said, once you start doing that, you're usually into the binder at least, and you're just adding a day. We did a demo on the unit back in the spring up on North Queen Anne, 2 big patches. We milled out about 30 tons of material in 2 hours and paved it the next day, and we were done.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I don't remember whether we included this in our budget for this year.
Yes, we did.
We did? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dents?
No questions.
Mr. Rocco?
Yeah, I just had one. What's the, about the life expectancy of this? You said the old one was 18 years. Would you think this one would be about the same?
I would hope. Yeah, most of my equipment's 15, 20 years.
Okay. Thank you.
This is all self-contained, had its own motor, had its own trailer, and it goes on the front of a Bobcat or skid steer.
Okay. Okay.
I do have one question. You said that we rent one now when you need one?
When we pave, we rent a machine to mill the whole road.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
I was going to ask about the life expectancy of it. Mr. Rocco beat me that one. But we have a place, I'm assuming, a place to store this and to keep it obviously out of the elements, or would it be outside all the time? Or?
Like right now, like you see out there, everything's outside. Hopefully, if our new building keeps going along, we'll have a place for it, yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, Mr. Gray, what did we budget for this? How much? Do you know off the top of your head?
65?
64.9, yeah, 65,000.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. I apologize. I do see it. After I asked the question, I thought to myself, wait a minute, I've seen that number. Okay. All right. Any public comment or questions? Okay. All right. Is there a motion then to authorize the advertisement for bids for an asphalt milling machine?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next up, we're looking at same thing, authorizing advertisement to bid for a safety attenuator with an arrow panel for Public Works. We'll just, nothing personal, Mr. Gray, we'll just bypass you and just ask Mr. Arneo to give us an idea of what, for people in the public, what is a safety attenuator, and why would we use it, and why do we want one?
It's a safety piece of equipment that what we're looking to get, it's on a trailer, and it will attach right to our pintle hook on the back of our truck. So it won't be permanently mounted. Won't have to tie up one piece of equipment. I can put it on probably 6 different vehicles. And it's generally for safety. It's for impact crashes. It'll have an arrow board, and it's just something else to help us in the public get along. I'm up on Oxford Valley Road a lot, doing signs in the middle of the medians, and it's scary out there.
So this is essentially, I mean, people have seen these, and I mean, I know what they are, but the big trailers that have an arrow pointing one way so that you can see construction ahead, and people just know to merge over because there's a construction vehicle.
Correct. Plus, it's the impact portion off the back,
right,
that'll withstand a car impacting into it. I believe up to like 65 miles an hour.
Okay. Comments or questions? And I see we budgeted $25,000 or.
Yes.
Yeah, $25,000 for
Yes.
this roughly. Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
Mr. Snipes?
No.
Mr. Dents?
I'll just say that I know what it's like to be up in a bucket truck and on the road and see cars flying by you, so it puts your mind at ease knowing you're that much safer. That's all.
It definitely helps. It'll definitely help. We have an hour board right now, and we take a truck up with us, but people just don't want to slow down.
Everybody's in a hurry.
Yeah. Mr. Rocco?
So right now, do we have a piece of equipment that has an arrow?
We do have an hour right now, yes.
Okay.
Yes. This will be all on one vehicle. This would be you'd be able to do it with, instead of 3 guys, you'd be able to do it with 2 guys. One guy working and the other guy in the safety truck behind him.
Okay.
But we still utilize the other arrow boards, especially if we're in the middle. We'll be able to close both lanes each way, because right now we're usually just cutting the one lane down, but the traffic coming the other way is going 45, 50 miles an hour. So
Okay.
to do it safely, you need the arrows, you need the impact vehicle.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any public comment? Yes. Okay. All right. Again, just motion to authorize advertisement for a bid for a safety attenuator with an arrow panel for public works. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to add that I think it might just be useful to say right now that if people really could just slow down, not just for Falls Township employees, but for anybody who's actually
Right.
working in the road. I've seen you in some pretty scary spots on the median in the middle of 2 lanes of traffic going, and people just need to slow down and take care and look at who's in the road, other drivers as well as people that are working for our good, for our township. So thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, all we can do is try to protect ourselves a little more and give them advance warning that, with as much visibility and, sight distance as we can
Right.
to help them out. But as you know, I mean, I think they have had 2 accidents on the turnpike in the last 8 months on the side of the road and in the shoulder. And that's not even a lane of travel, and somebody's getting hit from behind.
Plus, you can work that much safer knowing that you have that protection down there. One less thing on your mind when you're up in a bucket truck or wherever you are.
Yeah, that'll definitely help.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Snipes. That's a good point. Item 6, consider purchase of a dump truck cab with chassis for the Public Works Department. Mr. Gray, you want to go through some of the numbers on this?
Yes, the township has secured pricing on a 2013 International dump truck with central hydraulics and a new plow and spreader from the state's co-stars list. The truck will be used in the Public Works fleet and will service a variety of purposes. The township has budgeted funding for this truck in the 2013 budget. Funding was allocated at $150,000. Total cost of the cab and chassis is $84,303, and the cost for all body items, including the plow and spreader, is $74,320, for a grand total of $158,623. The board is asked to consider this item.
Okay. All right, I think pretty straightforward. It's a bucket truck and a plow. I mean, I know it's used for a variety of things.
It's a dump truck, plow and spreader. It'll It'll replace, I have 2 trucks that are almost 20 years old now, so it'll probably replace one of those trucks. And it's, yeah, it'll be used for hauling, it'll be, you know, blacktopping, snow plowing, you know, hauling that attenuator around, you know, a lot of variety of purposes.
Okay. Comments or questions for Mr. Arneo or Mr. Gray, I suppose, for the dump truck and all its associated equipment. Mr. Galloway?
I see that it's been budgeted, so no questions.
Mr. Snipes?
The 2 trucks we have now that you said were 20 years old, did we buy them new, do you know, or were they bought used?
They were, I believe they were new. Yeah, one was a 90 and the other one's a 93.
And you think the life expectancy for this might be 20 years as well?
That's my goal with my big diesels, is to get 15 to 20, and we're on pace. I have like 4 of them that are coming up between 15 and 20 now. So unfortunately, the price keeps going up.
Yeah. Sure.
But this isn't terrible. I mean, it's only about 8,000 more than the last one, and that was 3 years ago, the last dump truck we bought.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
No.
Mr. Rocco?
No.
Okay, any public comment? No? Okay, is there a motion then to approve the purchase of the dump truck as well as the body items, plow, spreader, et cetera, and the grand total amount of $158,623?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, Mrs. Pullen, pull the board, please.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mr. Arneo, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you
your
very
time.
much, gentlemen.
Is the rest of the fleet ready to plow tonight?
We're ready. Got one in the garage just that we're working on, but we'll be ready for tomorrow night. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, item 7 is consider proposal from Geese Management for geese control at Falls Township Community Park. A few meetings ago, the township approved some money for the company that comes in, does the egg addling, and some of the other things they do there to dissuade the current geese who like to live at our township park to go somewhere else, or from living there, I should say. This is a sort of additional program, something we did last year a little bit, involving border collies. And I see Mr. Gray, you want to talk a little about this? Well, I see Mr. Gillis is here. He's done a lot of work on this as well.
Sure. This is with Geese Management, as mentioned. This will be used at the Falls Township Community Park. The use of border collies will be used. This will be for 20 weeks, 7 days a week, twice a day, and this will start in March. The board is asked to consider this proposal. Here tonight is John Gillis from Public Works and Bill Reese from Park and Rec.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
May I?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
Thank you.
Were we at KFC or?
That's phase 1, the picture with the bones. That's
Yeah.
soccer field.
Yeah, so we have about 6 pictures here. A lot of geese wandering around our park, which is obviously an issue. And as we're talking about the Easter egg hunt coming up, and
Health concern, yes.
it's certainly one of the issues. Obviously, you know, especially with that, when you have little kids running around picking up Easter eggs, and you've got a lot of the droppings of geese mixed in with that. That's obviously something that's a concern. And certainly the kids going out and play soccer, especially the little kids.
I wouldn't want to slide in the home plate right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we used this company last year on a sort of a trial basis, correct? With the border collies. What was your impression of them?
My impression was I would like to see it more often, 3 times a week if it's possible. I mean, it's got to be consistent for starters. I was impressed with the collies. And there's a picture, I believe you'll see, where I have one of my silhouette dogs up, where there's no geese around that area.
Oh, I did notice that. Yeah.
Last one.
Right.
All right, so that in coercion with the border collies, I think, would be a huge boost.
Okay. And we're looking at their proposals for $4,000?
Not these guys.
$4,000.
Okay,
Theirs is 7 days a week, twice a day, too, they're gonna be coming.
right, and for 20 weeks, right,
Yep.
That would help.
okay. All right, comments or questions from board members, either from Mr. Reese? Did you want to add anything, Mr. Reese, or?
Well, just, I think we have a really good opportunity here by having hazing going on both during the daytime and at night. Really should shake the geese up. At least that's what we're hoping for, so. Which I don't think we haven't done that at nighttime. So I think with having both hazings going on really gives us a good opportunity to make a big difference. And then, of course, maybe next year, the state sees that we're doing so much with the hazing and we're really trying to do a really good job of harassing the geese, that maybe we'll be able to do a roundup. Would be like the finishing touches.
Okay. Comments or questions for Mr. Gillis or Mr. Reese, or I guess Mr. Gray? Mr. Rocco, start on this end.
I'm in favor of it. I spoke to this guy last year several times. One thing he does want us to do is call him if you do see geese down there. So I would say take advantage of that.
That'd be a chain of command kind of thing, I would assume. I would inform Mr. Reese, and Mr. Reese would...
Whatever it takes to keep the geese off the
Just
field.
give you his number since you're there all the
Yeah.
time, and you can give him a ring.
Yeah, so.
We don't need Mr. Reese.
How many geese do you think are down there now?
Couple hundred, easy.
Couple hundred.
Easy.
Yeah, no, that's all I had.
Mr. Dents?
Now, speaking with these gentlemen last year, I spoke with them on the phone, and what this guy does and what the other company does are two completely different things. The idea with the dogs is to just chase them off the soccer fields and basically train the geese not to come to the soccer fields.
Harassment.
And it did make a huge difference last year, because I used to go down there almost every day. I remember when he started, and by June, the goose dew was almost gone compared to what it was earlier in the season. So it definitely works. And the harassing, like Mr. Reese said, this is something that we need to do for the state that requires us to non-lethally harass the geese so that we can do a roundup. Because we wanted to do a roundup last year, they told us, no, you can't. You have to harass the geese for a couple years before you can round them up. So
Right.
that's all I have.
Mr. Snipes?
That was partly my question of, have we seen a difference over the past couple of years as we've been doing these things?
While the dogs are in place, yes, right now.
When they're there?
Yes.
No,
Really?
overall, it cuts down on the amount of goose droppings on the soccer fields. They're basically training the geese not to go to the soccer fields. That's where they go. They run around the soccer fields, chase the geese away. And there was a big difference last year.
When the dogs are there, in other words, it works. We know it works,
Yeah.
which makes sense. Your picture of the bones,
That's phase one, the soccer fields.
what did you do to them?
Had a
Or
little
winter
mess.
chicken dinner.
Okay, thank you. Oh, wait a minute, you said there are a couple hundred of them there now.
Yes, easy.
So they're obviously have resettled in and they're very comfortable. Okay, thank you.
I have been holding pictures of last year too. These same, the same amount last year, here back again this year.
Okay, thank you.
And the bones are from the seagulls, correct?
Those are for the seagulls. I'm told that Town has a spot where they dump restaurant refuse, shall we say. The seagulls will fly to the landfill, help themselves, come on over here to eat, and leave it all for us to clean up.
This is just one spot?
That's just one spot, a spot no bigger than where you're sitting. And imagine a whole soccer field like that. That's what you got.
Really?
Yeah. Looks like somebody had a gigantic party.
Well, there's been a lot of those seagulls down there. Somebody mentioned that the seagulls are confused and think it's a landfill because of Mr. Sullivan's construction going on.
It's,
I don't know how true that is, but I mean, it makes sense because there are a lot of
So I don't know.
seagulls down there. I actually went down there, I might have already said this, with my wife one day, and she thought there was something covering the field until they all flew away, and she couldn't believe that it was seagulls. There were that many of them. Looked like a blanket over the field.
pictures more seagulls
like
than
snow.
geese.
Yeah, it does.
So how do we harass seagulls?
I think Mr. Dell has a few things in his.
For you guys, none of what you want to hear.
It's not this question of hearing them, it's a question of legality, I think, probably. Anything else, Mr. Snipes?
No, that's it.
Mr. Galloway?
No, I'm just glad to hear it. Anything that we can do to prove to the state that we don't want these geese, and we've done whatever we could. It sounds great to me.
Yeah, thank you. Good.
Okay. Any public comment? See one hand, or motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Mr. Mariani?
Thank you. I heard what you said about the children going for Easter eggs. A few years ago, I decided to take a small a course at the tech school, small engine repair. My first night, I parked my car there, and I walked across the lawn to get to the door, and by the time I got there, I had turned the atmosphere blue. There's loaded with geese all around that tech school. I think for 11 years now, what we've been doing has been practicing birth control, rubbing the eggs with coconut oil, so on and so forth. One of the things I mentioned the last time was the using the collies. None of these methods get rid of the geese. Year after year after year, spending all this money, the geese are there. I'm not sure we even have any control over how many of them and how they're multiplying, but I think it's time that we employed flight control, we talked about last time, rejected fog, and that'll also, by the way, get rid of your seagulls. So I think it's time that in addition to the collies, which I think is a good idea, why don't we go ahead and spend this money and get rid of these geese once and for all, the humane way.
Thank you. Any other public comment? See one hand, Mr. Dell?
Let's see, item number 8 is a gator for the Falls Township Park.
Not an alligator.
I understand that. If you have someone driving around on that thing also harassing the geese during the course of, even if someone stays a couple hours after the park closes so it doesn't upset people seeing this guy, whoever's on it, just keep moving the geese around so there just keeps disturbing them. I don't know if that would help on top of the the dogs. I mean, I don't think it matters if it's a dog or a person.
Right, yeah.
If you keep aggravating these geese, eventually they're just going to move on.
Yeah, I don't think it can't hurt, I guess, basically, yeah.
Yeah, I would just say get a slightly faster gator than what you were planning on getting. Something, maybe an all-terrain vehicle or something of that nature, something that really...
Could donate the engine from your Mustang.
I could probably help you there also, if it's tax deductible. But I just thought if you have a vehicle you can drive across the turf that isn't going to disturb the turf so much, maybe you can harass these things a little more.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yes, everything helps. And Mr. Gillis obviously has been, he's the one that literally made these dogs that are just the plywood ones with, and put them out there and moves them around. So he's really been sort of front and center with this battle for the last couple of years.
Or maybe even, there's a lot of people who use your dog park that I'm sure they'll enjoy taking their dogs in there. I'm sure after hours, though, if there was maybe 3 or 4 people or 5 people that had a special, I'm not going to say permit, but just continually have people down there harassing these things and let them off the leash. And like I said, not during park hours, not to upset anyone.
That's a little bit hairy because we'd obviously, the dogs that we're putting here are the border collies are the smartest breed in the world. So they know, they've been trained.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be registered and certified by the state to harass geese in Pennsylvania. Not like we can just go down there and start harassing geese.
That doesn't surprise me.
They have rights too.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
They actually told us that one non-lethal method for harassing geese was to execute a goose in front of the other geese, because the geese that witnessed to killing the goose
tells its
were the ones
friends
being harassed.
Yeah.
That was the federal government told us that, correct? I'm not kidding.
That was from the EPA.
You're serious?
I'm dead serious.
Okay.
We're absolutely serious.
If we execute one while the other ones are watching, we're harassing them. But we have to use a shotgun. It has to be a shotgun. They're very specific.
Really make a mess of them. Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. They also have the, I was going to mention you for the 12 gauge, they have those what's called bird chasing rounds that they go out there and they whistle about 100 yards and they blow up. Scares the heck out of the birds. But I think they used to use them at the landfill way back when. I think they use more of a propane, and that's what I was going to mention to you.
I was going to suggest
they
that
have a
too.
propane explosion that goes off every couple minutes, or they can set the timer to it, but it's just this explosion that pops. It's run off a propane tank.
Sounds like a gun.
And it sounds like a gun, and it just, the birds shoot off in every direction, and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't shoot any projectile. It's just it's just a little air explosion, and that might be an option also, especially place the units around where these geese normally are. It'll get rid of them also.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other public comment? See no hands. Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we're looking at a sum not to exceed $4,000 for geese management for the use of border collies, 20 weeks, 7 days a week, 2 times a day. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much. I don't know if you might want to stick around. Hold on. Item 8, consider purchase of a gator for the Falls Township Community Park security staff. Mr. Gray. Have Mr. Miller, two in the back.
The Park and Rec Department secured a quote for the purchase of a gator for use down at the Township Community Park. The gator is manufactured by John Deere and will be used by the security guards at the park. The quote was secured from the PA state contract list. It is from Robert Little in the amount of $13,079.62. This gator was included in the 2013 budget. This came in under budget. $13,478 was the budgeted amount. The board is asked to consider the purchase of this gator in the amount of $13,079.62 from Robert E. Little, Inc. Here tonight, for any additional questions the board may have, is Mr. Bill Reese and Mr. Doug Miller.
Okay. Yeah, gentlemen, just give us an idea of the uses for this piece of equipment at the Township Park. And it would just be at the Township Park and not anywhere else. Is that correct?
If it was to be used anywhere else, it'd have to be trailered there. It's not something that we can drive down the road normally.
Okay.
It's a lot smaller than our normal patrol vehicle, therefore giving us a little bit better access around the park and around the paths. Not so much pushing people off the path. We're better able to go around people using the path without destroying the turf. And this machine's more made for on that kind of turf and not going to be destroying it like the cars are.
Okay. All right. Questions for Mr. Miller or Mr. Reese? Mr. Galloway?
No, it just sounds like something that was overdue. Thank you.
Mr. Snipes?
No questions.
Mr. Dents?
Just a comment that there's a lot less impact, like you said, on the trail, a lot better on gas. And we did use the gator we have now when we had that SWAT demonstration down.
All right.
That they borrowed it and brought it down there. So they do use them if we need to. That's all they had. Oh, and we can use it to chase geese too.
Mr. Rocco?
Yeah, I noticed we're getting a heater as well, so do we plan on using it 10, 12 months out of the year?
Yes, sir. Year-round. That's why we
Year-round.
asked for the heater. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea.
And we're storing it in the garage at the community park, correct? Or do we have a shed built? Or
We're in the midst of purchasing another shed. We're in the beginning stages there, so yes.
Okay. All right. Public comments or questions? I see no hands. Okay. If there are no other comments or questions, is there a motion to purchase the gator from Robert E. Little Incorporated in the amount of $13,079.62?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you
John.
very much, guys. Have a good night. Okay, item number 9 is consider proposal from T&M Associates for a fishing pier at the Falls Township Community Park. Mr. Gray, and I guess assuming you'll turn it over to Mr. Sullivan?
Yes. Township received a quote from Mr. Sullivan dated February 27th for engineering services for a fishing pier at the community park. This includes preparation of plans, specifications, and bid docs, and provide construction administration services for the Falls Township Community Park Fishing Pier project. Estimated construction cost for the fishing pier and floating dock system is $60,000. The engineering service proposal is $28,040. The board is asked to consider this proposal from T&M.
Okay, Mr. Sullivan, let's give us an idea of what exactly this pier is going to look like, some specifications, and let us know where it's going to go. You obviously have the map behind you if you want to point that as well, if you felt like doing that.
I believe I do.
So do we.
This is basically going to be a T-shaped fixed fishing pier with a floating dock, hopefully, on the lake side of the structure that we intend to put in. It'll go out at least 50 feet and probably longer than that because we want to be able to fish from both sides of the pier. The pier itself will be about 8 feet wide in its walking part, and then it's a T-shape. The T will be somewhere between 24 to 40 feet, depending on what we think we need to do to accommodate the fishermen. It is very near the skate park, just right next to the actual boat launch at Community Park.
Doesn't he have a laser pointer?
Right here. Right in that general area.
Okay. All right, comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan regarding the engineering proposal? We'll start on this, Mr. Rucco?
So it's right, is it right near the boat ramp? Is that what you said?
Correct.
Yes,
And we'll go out past that little cove?
yes. We'll go out as far as we need to do to get out of the shallows, so we
Yeah.
actually be able to fish from there.
And does it have rails? Railings?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think we're gonna have any rails on this. No.
Okay. You sure?
I'm pretty sure. I'm just thinking if there's necessary to have rails anywhere, but not unless it be low, some kind of low rail. If we make it handicap accessible, we probably have to have some kind of a curb at least, so you don't accidentally fall into the water.
Okay, and the engineering cost was $28,000,
That is correct.
and it seems a little high. Can you explain why?
Yeah, well, the problem here is we're building something in a lake. We have to do surveying from a boat to find out what the actual grade is underneath the water. We're probably going to need a joint permit from the Army Corps of Engineer and DEP, and those things take a lot of time, unfortunately.
Okay, so it's complicated.
It's, for a very small project like this, it's very complicated.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Are you going to be doing the surveying from the boat?
I will not, no.
You will not?
I'll be happy to observe that.
I was hoping. Now, let's talk about the lake there. There's a ledge about 50 feet out, correct?
Yes,
Which is, the point is getting out past the ledge.
that is correct.
And we do get a lot of requests for handicapped accessibility for fishing. And there's fishermen down there almost every day, all year long, too. I think it's a great idea.
Does it change the cost if we do handicapped accessible?
The construction cost probably will be a little more than what we think it is right now. We'll have to put grab bars along as you go out, and then rails where you can park.
Sketch that I saw actually had rails.
That's a sketch so far.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
'Cause I remember
I'm
seeing-
looking at the sketch, and somebody might have told you there were rails. They kind of drew a rail in there. It doesn't look like a proper rail at this time.
Okay, that's all.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes, thank you. The total cost is 60,000.
That's the estimated cost, yes.
Yeah, total estimated cost, right. And the floating dock, correct? Is that something that comes out? How do we picture this? Is this going to be open year-round? Does the dock come up in the wintertime? It stays there?
Permanent.
Permanent?
I don't see any reason why we'd have to pull it out of the water. It's not like our boat docks in the Delaware River where the tide changes and you have problems with debris coming down the river. This can probably stay there all year long.
And we would allow fishing all year long? Is that the thought of this? Sure. And does this add anything to our liability, or do we have plenty in terms of the lake access at this point already, now that we're inviting people to go in deeper into the water?
I can give you my engineering opinion about the liability. I can't speak to insurance liability, but I wouldn't think that this would change our liability insurance much.
Would not?
It does not.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Mr. Galloway?
Yeah, so the total cost is the 60,000 plus the engineering cost, right?
That's the total estimated cost, yes.
Total estimated then is 60, including the engineering?
No, engineering is in addition to 60,000.
Oh, that's not what I...
The idea of rails, if we did something for the handicap, they would be something like you said, like a curb, something low.
Out where you would be fishing, I would think so, yes.
Yeah, because
the access, you'd have to have grab rails
on the
along each
access.
side,
Yeah,
yes.
but the fishing end, you wouldn't want rails. You have fishermen that are 2 foot high and fish for people that are 6 foot high, and getting over rails would be an obstacle, right?
That's exactly correct.
That's all I thought about. Thank you.
My worry would be the 2 foot high ones falling in the water. I know when I took my son fishing, he was spending more time in the water than he did fishing. That's the only reason I would think that we might need some sort of rail.
No. Yeah, I mean, certainly it's something we have to take a look at, right?
And the purpose of the floating dock is so that people that are using boats on the lake can tie it up while they go get their vehicle, rather than just leave it sitting there like they have to do now.
Right. Right.
Which you could move wherever you wanted on that pier.
I'm sure we could design it that way. I mean, we have it shown in a fixed location, but you probably move it all you want, as long as it keeps floating, yeah.
How long does a project like this take, do you think?
We'd probably give them 30 days to do it. It shouldn't take anywhere near that long.
Is the county or state going to hold us up with anything?
If the process gets held up, it will certainly be the outside agencies that hold it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course it will.
So within 6 months, if we move forward? Is that long?
I would hope we'd have this out there by the beginning of the summer, but if the review period lasts 90 days, we're talking about toward the end of summer.
Can't you get an expedited review?
We're going to try.
Okay. Okay. All right, all my questions were asked by other board members. Is there any public comment needed? Seeing a few hands. Motion to open public comment?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Mr. Dell?
I don't know if any of you gentlemen have ever been down to Penn Warner Club and taken a look at their dock, but you guys are going to be building a $60,000 floating bird toilet. Okay, it's going to be a full-time job to keep that dock clean. I mean, you have to you really should go visit the Penn Warner dock before you guys go and build this thing, because they've got chicken bones 6 inches deep, bird crap from stem to stern on that dock every day, and you can't keep it clean. It's disgusting. So you may want to, unless this is a graded material where stuff can fall through to the water, but if it's a flat surface, a wooden surface or anything like that, or steel, it is going to be a maintenance nightmare. And I don't think you're going to like what you see after the birds, the seagulls start settling in on that pier. And you would think that with the traffic you might have on there, you wouldn't have an issue, but a lot of people fish down to Penn Warner Club, but it's still, you could talk to Ginger or any of the people down there. It's a nightmare. They're continuously dirty, and that one is a substantially smaller dock than what you guys are looking at doing. So from a maintenance perspective, and as far as the engineering goes, how deep is this water? Like, how hard of a job is it to get out there? Like, how deep is this dock going to go out to? Is it 6 foot deep? I could put Mr. Sullivan and hip waders and walk out there and engineer this thing, or do we need like a?
It gets yeah. There is a shelf.
About 40 feet.
Right. There was a shelf that was built when the lake was constructed. There had to be a shelf that.
I mean, how far out is the shelf? Is that where we're trying to get to?
I thought it was
Trying to
about.
get beyond it. That was the
I thought it was
point.
25 foot.
I think what we have on our plan here is the shallows go about 40 feet.
Okay.
That's an estimate, so it's going to go out at least much farther, not much farther than that, but it's going to go out farther than that, so you can get to areas where you can fish.
I mean, what are the dimensions of this dock? How wide and?
8 foot.
8 feet? Yeah. You really should take a look at the dock down there, or give them a call, or even talk to someone who has a dock in place and ask them how much maintenance they need to do on that thing. Because like I said, it's filthy. You don't want to even, you drop your fishing lure down there, obviously your kid's going to be sitting down or going to eventually touch the ground. It is it's nasty. So you may want to really reconsider that and let the people fish from the shore and save about $100,000. And I don't know how a little curb is going to make it safe for I mean, God forbid someone flips in there with a wheelchair or a one of those I don't know, like motorized vehicles. Yeah, they're going to sink, especially if you go beyond the shelf. I mean, they're going 40 foot down. You're not getting, they're going to have a problem. So I don't think it's a good idea, but that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mariani?
I was going to ask you what the total cost of this fishing pier is. It's not $60,000. It's at least $88,000, considering T&M's fees. And I would say that we're looking at something that's going to be well over $100,000. My questions are, how many Falls residents do we estimate are going to use this fishing pier? And why would we spend this $100,000 plus without a documented estimate of a need for this thing or its probable use? Now, Biles Island already calls for another fishing pier. That's phase one. It goes on to say we need 2 additional river openings, which will give us more access, another boat ramp, and a marina, and then beyond that, an additional fishing pier and an expanded marina. Now, you say you want this because people don't have a place to fish. Well, I looked at and I found at least 30 other locations, 30, within our immediate area where people can go fishing if they want to go fishing. So this whole thing reminds me of our decision to build that boat ramp, which came in $208,000 over budget. And despite the availability that we had for boat access, which was in Ben Salem, the Chamonix State Park, Yardley, Morrisville, Northeast Philadelphia, the Bristol waterfront, that's got 30 docks for small boats, and they just got $1 million for a grant to continue to do that thing. We still went ahead and we still built a boat ramp that I don't think we needed. We're spending money. I don't think the expenditure right here for this is disproportionate, I think, to our need for this thing or for its probable use. I don't think we'd get the use out of that. Well, at any rate, it leads me to believe that at the rate we're spending money on what I consider to be, you disagree with me, I'm sure, but what I consider to be unnecessary projects and what we call amenities, our current prosperity, continue to do what we're doing, that's going to be our undoing for this township. We can't continue to do, I don't think, the kind of spending we're doing on unnecessary amenities. That's not the government's business, and it shouldn't be. So I don't think we need a fishing pier. I don't think we need this fishing pier. I'll tell you what I would like this board to do, and I would at least consider it. I think we ought to establish right here a version of the, you guys might be a little younger, the Federal Grace Commission that was established by Ronald Reagan in 1982. I think we ought to have that kind of a commission here in this township. What that would be composed of would be a panel of business and private volunteers that would be, they'd be tasked with analyzing our township budget and pinpoint any waste and identify any opportunities for savings. I think there's a better use for this money. I think we ought to continue to think about establishing a fund to take the dividends from that fund and every year send it back to the taxpayers whose money it belongs. We ought to do that. If you want to spend that kind of money on an amenity, then we ought to think about getting a leaf truck so we wouldn't be doing 40 bags of leaves every year. And I think that money would be better spent, and it would be something that everyone can use. You know what I'm speaking about, the leaf truck that comes by, that we said it cost too much money. Well, you know, I think we got the money for it if we forget about some of these side amenities. I am absolutely opposed to this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? See no hands. Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, I've heard from board members, members of the public, as well as Mr. Sullivan. I know just for myself being down at the park quite a bit, you know, I don't recall ever being down there and not seeing somebody fishing, at least a couple people fishing. So and I know I've gotten, I know Mr. Snipes has been on the board longer than I have, pretty much since that park opened, constantly asked by people about, putting in or fishing there and changing the hours. People want to be able to fish at night or fish before the sun comes up.
Ice fish.
Yeah, ice fish. I think Mr. Prokopiak actually brought up the idea of a pier many years ago. So it's not necessarily a new idea, but I definitely think there's a need. If there's anything, there's definitely a need for it, and there's definitely a desire for people to want to have it there. So.
Yeah, and I also think recreationally it'll get used.
Sure.
Beyond just fishing.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't think, if you ever been down to the park, there's thousands of people down there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And one of the things Mr. Dents talked about putting boats in, that's the one, I guess, drawback of the boat ramp at the lake is that there really isn't a way to put a boat in and then sort of, tie it off somewhere and while you go park your car. There is nothing to tie it off to. Someone basically has to sort of stand in the water up to their knees or hips or something and then wait for the other person to drive away and then come back and they both jump in the rowboat or sailboat, whatever. It's not exactly, we're telling people we're not allowed to swim in the lake, but then we're not giving them a way to sort of get in the boat without sort of wading into the lake to get in the boat. So this obviously would fit that need as well.
Quite a few boaters down there too. How many, do you know how many we have registered? Do they register with the township? They don't.
No, not anymore.
No, they used to, yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman? Yeah, the one comment I heard that did kind of piqued my curiosity was the question of how to keep the pier clean. I have been on some piers, once you started talking about that, Andy, I have been on some piers that were a real mess. I didn't want to be there either. And I've been on some piers that weren't, and I don't know why. I don't know what the difference was, just the bird population, flyovers, whether there's a landfill nearby, I'm not sure.
Right.
But I do wonder if there's anything about the design that, here we are back to the geese and bird question again.
Right.
But obviously, it has been an issue in the park, so it may be an issue here too. I don't know
Yeah,
if there's.
I don't know, and I was wondering about the surface, if we could specifically focus on the surface, that'd be easier to clean if there's such a surface that's made that way. I've been down to Penn Warner, a friend who has property and has a pier on the lake, and it's clean. There's no issue at all with birds. So I don't know, some are, some aren't. I don't know if there's a formula for figuring out why one would be, one wouldn't be. But I guess if preparing for the worst case scenario, if we have to clean it, pressure wash it or something, is there a surface we could make it out of that would make it easier to do that would withstand that kind of cleaning? But I don't know.
What is this?
This time we're looking at a composite decking, high density polyethylene Trex, something like that, with a certain gap in between each board, so that it should facilitate cleaning. If you get a lot of birds, you're gonna have to clean it a lot. That's all.
Okay. All right, so we're looking at this point at the engineering, $28,040 for T&M Associates.
I got a question.
Sure.
What's the cost difference between the composite decking and pressure-treated lumber?
These days, I don't think there's much of a difference. It used to be, it was a lot more for the composite decking, but most people are going that way, and I think they make it a lot cheaper than they used to.
All right, thank you.
And if we were to need to clean the pier, we would do that, how? Pressure wash? That's what we're talking about?
I would think so, yeah.
Connected to?
A hose.
Connected to what?
I guess you can have one that pumps right out of the lake, right?
You can.
The gas-powered one, suck it right out of the lake and
You
just
have a
wash it
gas-powered
down.
one. I'm not sure where the closest hose bib is.
It's going in the lake anyway. You just happen to hit the pier.
There's water close by, at least at the pavilion, so I'm not sure how far that would be, or if there's a hose bib that's even closer than that. But you can connect a gas-powered power washer. Take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other
That's it.
questions? Okay. All right, is there a motion then to move forward in terms of the engineering services, $28,040 for T&M?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Motion made,
Seconded?
seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda, back to Mr. Sullivan again. The NPDES, that's Phase 2 permitting. This is a state requirement that the township has to go through, and Mr. Sullivan will explain exactly what's going to be going on here. And I see the amount is for $8,200, not to exceed. Mr. Sullivan, want to touch base on what exactly the NPDES is and what your services will include?
Sure. This is actually year 10 of the NPDES Phase 2 permitting. NPDES stands for National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. There's a lot of acronyms here. And required for all Falls Township municipal separate stormwater sewer system called an MS4. This is something that every municipality in the Commonwealth has to do every year. There are 6 what are called minimum control measures, MCMs. They deal with public education, public participation, illicit discharge detection and elimination, construction site runoff, post-construction site runoff, and pollution prevention and good housekeeping programs. Our proposal, we either monitor or enforce these 6 minimum control measures, some of them through our reviews of land developments, earth disturbance permits, some of them through the EAC and through the website. People have public education. There'll be links on the website to DEP information about this stuff. And again, this is something we've done for me for the last 8 years I've been here. And this past year, we had to actually apply for a new permit. So there'll be a year 1 coming up starting in June of this year. And that it's pretty much the same thing for Falls Township. Other municipalities have to worry about what's called TMDL, total mass daily load of sediment running into certain creeks and streams. Falls Township, I don't think that's going to be a problem in Falls Township. So it'll be pretty much the same for the next 5 years. And this was a 5-year program that's now lasted 10 years. So the next permit is again a 5-year program that could last for another 10 years or more.
All right, comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan? Mr. Galloway?
It's a 5-year program that lasted 10 years. We didn't pay anything additional. It was just extended by the state.
The permit was for 5 years, but they couldn't come up with new regulations at the end of 5 years, so they just kept extending the permit period. And this is the last year for the first 5-year period.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Snipes?
In your proposal here, all points 1 through 6, that's what you would be working on?
Yes.
Correct?
In various capacities.
Right, okay. Just out of curiosity, what would the public education plan look like?
The idea is to distribute, as it says here, distribute fact sheets to developers. We are supposed to, every application we get in, distribute to the developer a fact sheet of what they need to be aware of.
Right.
To be sensitive to the environment and any kind of pollution, erosion, sediment control. Advertise about stormwater management in local newspapers. We do that through our website, and we ensure that links to DEP stormwater websites are on our website. Okay. And the township manager has to fill out a checklist stating that we have all those things on the website, and then the EAC actually has to fill out a checklist to say that they are aware of these requirements, and anytime they're involved in a project, inform the applicants of these requirements.
The third bullet point under number 1 says distribute posters to schools. What would a poster look like, and what would they be trying to tell?
If you ever seen the pamphlet, When It Rains, It Drains?
Yes.
That's kind of thing we do that.
So it's what not to put down the public storms?
Yes, and we're supposed to go around and stencil inlets and have Cub Scouts and people like that do that, school programs. Drains to river, or drains to stream.
So we could recruit some Boy Scouts to do that for us?
Yeah.
So part of this is public education, and then other parts just in general are, like number 5, construction site runoff program. Are you managing this somehow? Are you visiting every site and making sure they're complying with?
Well, for the most part, we do that on a daily basis through our reviews of our land developments and earth disturbance permits, and also inspections, enforcement, and the conservation district is also involved in that. So those are things that we just kind of monitor, and we just do normally. Illicit discharge and detection elimination, the Public Works Department gets involved with monitoring outfalls, and we make sure that that's done properly, and it gets all this information gets put into a year-end report that is due in the middle of June.
The last point is documentation of stormwater enforcement activities. So you need to send some kind of report to DEP?
Yes.
All right, okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Dent?
You said this is paying for the last year of the 5-year plan?
Which is over 5 years.
It's
Yeah. Is this
They
the
kind
end?
of
Do we
they
have
kind
to
of
do this
overlap.
again
I mean,
next year or in June?
these things kind of overlap. I mean, what this calls for is the report for the end of year 10 and also the information we need for the beginning of year 11, which is actually year 1 for the new permit.
No, I'm really confused.
Okay, I thought so.
So we're not going to have to do this again in June?
No, we'll do this again in January or February of next year. This will cover this entire year.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
So this is the last year of the existing,
It's the last year of the existing permit.
which was a 5-year permit that kept extending.
They
and we're
extended it
about-
1 year every year for the last 5 years.
Right, okay.
And we just applied for our new permit in September of last year, and that should be issued either this month or next month.
We've done this before?
Yeah, this is probably, will there be a point, in maybe your lifetime or mine when we won't have to do an NPDES?
No.
That's what I thought.
Okay, good enough. That answers my question.
Yeah, so essentially, I mean, obviously trying to prevent pollution, trying to make sure that we're giving people information. And certainly, I think all of us have gone by a storm sewer that, right on the corner of or intersection of a road or something, and you've seen bottles and things that people just thrown down there, probably because they think that eventually drains to some facility where it gets filtered or something, some processing plant, and that only clean water goes out to the rivers, and that isn't the case. That all of those storm sewers drain directly into some body of water, a river, a creek, a lake, somewhere. And so if you're throwing stuff down there, if you're, changing oil in your car and you figure I'll just pour it down here, it'll go away. Well, it doesn't. Well, it goes somewhere, but it doesn't go away. It goes into a lake somewhere, or a river. So, trying to educate people about that, is obviously an uphill battle. For a lot of people, it's just easier to throw chewing gum wrappers or, candy bar wrappers or Gatorade bottles or whatever it is.
Grass clippings, leaves, all that kind of
clippings,
stuff.
all that kind of stuff, and so, but again, this is something that the state requires us to do. We're not, Mr. Gray, we're not reimbursed for this, are we?
No, we're not.
Yeah, I didn't think so. All right, so we're looking at $8,200 for the NPDES Phase 2 permitting year 10. Are there any public comment? I see no hands. Is there a motion then to approve the $8,200 for Phase 2 permitting?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay, minutes of our 2 most recent meetings. Are there any comments or questions regarding either of the minutes from February 5th or February 19th?
No.
No.
No? Okay then, is there a motion to approve both sets of minutes as presented?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. We do not have need for an executive session. Mr. Gray?
Yes, just a few items tonight. The township recently received a request from TAG, Towns Against Graffiti, for their annual donation. TAG is an organization that removes graffiti from public places. Corporal Wolverton is the township's liaison for this program. In the 2013 budget, the township included $5,000 for TAG. The board is asked to consider a donation of $5,000 to TAG.
Okay, and I see that there's a memo here with looks like about 35 different locations just last year where TAG came out and removed graffiti just in Falls Township, 35 different sites, everything from overpasses on Stony Hill Road to Walt Disney Elementary School to private businesses, fences, different places all over. So, and how long have we done this with TAG? It's
Approximately 10 years.
yeah, okay. And we've always found them to be very prompt in terms of coming out.
Yeah, whenever we have problems, Corporal Wolverton calls them up, asks them to come out, and they do a good job.
Okay, all right, thank you. Comments or questions for Mr. Gray regarding this? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
And Mr. Snipes?
No.
Mr. Dents?
They do a great job. The few times that I've called Mr. Gray, I think at least 3 last year, the next day the graffiti was gone at the Township Park and a couple spots on West Trenton Road. I remember calling about. So I think it's a great service they provide.
Mr. Rocco?
I have none.
Okay, all right then, any public comment needed? One hand. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Kinney?
Tag is good. I called the chief one day. Next day, the graffiti was gone from Admiral. Someone sprayed our fence. They were out. The next day, I didn't even know they were there. They cleaned it right off. So they are a good deal. So 5,000 ain't nothing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? See no hands. Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, is there a motion then to approve the $5,000 donation to TAG?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Just a few announcements also. Hurricane Sandy permit waivers are due to the township by Friday, March 15th. Damage assessment forms are available at the code enforcement window and also at the Falls Township website. Beginning January 1st of this year, curbside pickup of items known as e-waste, including TVs, computer monitors, printers, whatever it may be, is no longer available. The township has an e-waste program through Waste Management that residents can take advantage of. Residents are asked to take their e-waste to Waste Management's site on Old Rogers Road in Bristol on Wednesdays. For further details, please check the Falls Township website that will provide this information. And that's all I have.
Okay, it's Bristol Township.
Bristol
Old Rogers
Township,
Road, yeah,
yes.
Bristol Township. Okay. All right, yeah, now it's a change in regulations, the kind of waste that can be accepted. As you know, there are hazardous waste collection times. There's 3 throughout the county every year. The one in Lower Bucks is almost always at the tech school, and it's usually in August for any kind of hazardous waste. You might have paint cans or other kinds of things that you can't normally put in a trash can. So this is e-waste, which I think also includes cell phone batteries too, doesn't it? Things like that, I believe.
So.
Yeah.
Any kind of battery? Or
I think specifically they're looking for the electronic kind of batteries, but I'm not sure of that. Like you said, there's something on the website.
Yeah, we'll make sure that information's on the website for the rest of us.
But this case, the drop-off is just a standard drop-off. It doesn't rotate around. It's on Old Rogers Road at the Waste Management Building in Bristol Township. So it might be a little bit tricky to find if you don't know where New Rogers Road is, but Old Rogers Road obviously is a different road.
And that Sandy, Hurricane Sandy that was an extension. What was the original date on that?
January 31st.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're up to board comment.
Give a comment, I think.
Mr. Question.
I had a 61-inch TV and I wanted to put it out and I couldn't. And Rose of the township gave me a number to call. Wawa over on Route 13 and back of them, there's a place I could give. She probably has the number, the name of the place, but 61-inch TV I couldn't throw in my car and take it over there. But they'll come out for $20 and take anything you have. And they tell me the cords and everything, they're worth money. So don't, you see you have a TV, don't get rid of the cords, keep everything together because they're worth money.
How do you watch a 61-inch TV? Do you sit out front on your porch and look in through the windows?
I had it in 10-foot room.
10-foot room.
Wife was so happy I got rid of that.
I'll
I
bet.
cried when it left.
All right, board comment. Let's see, do we want to, Mr. Snipes, want to begin? Any comments?
No comment, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for a
Okay.
good meeting.
Mr. Dents?
I just think we did some great stuff tonight for the Parks and Rec Department, from the fishing dock, which might not be something we need, but it's something that will definitely be used. Like we said, there's fishermen down there all the time. They want to fish at night. They'd fish all night and day if we could. The gator and the dogs keeping the geese off the soccer field, especially when we spend a lot of money redoing these soccer fields. So the little bit we spend each year keeping the geese off, I think, is great. And that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Rocco?
I have none. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Galloway?
Just a reminder that the 25th Annual Bucks County St. Patrick's Day Parade is coming up. It's scheduled for March 16th at 10:30 a.m. It's a Saturday before St. Patrick's Day. It travels from St. Joseph to Worker, down New Falls Road to the tech school. And it's well attended every year, but just a reminder to all the residents of the date and the time for this year. And we look forward to seeing everybody out there in our 25th year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I thank, obviously, Mr. Galloway is an integral part, he and his family, but especially Mr. This Mr. Galloway. We have a couple Mr. Galloways that people might know. But, you know, Brian does a tremendous amount of work and has for many years on that parade. And so we thank him for all his work. We know he's, you know, this is the crunch time when, you know, it's just, can't wait for it to get here.
Yes.
So thank you very much. It is always a great parade. So hopefully we have some good weather. The next couple days, going to be supposed to have some snow. Just pay attention to those around you. If it's the snow they're talking about, it might not be necessarily that much, but it's supposed to be very heavy. So for those of you that might have back problems, health problems, just you know, take your time shoveling it. Might not be a bad idea to, you know, pay a neighborhood kid a little bit of money, and they might do it for you, just to save yourself any kind of health issues. Want to thank some Boy Scouts who are here this evening, you know, working on a badge, a citizenship badge, I think it is, if that was correct, or I might have gotten it wrong. Communication, sorry, badge. So we've had some Boy Scouts here before. This is a nice crowd here. So thank them for being out here, and hopefully, you know, if they have any questions or anything, obviously they're welcome to come up and ask us later on. We're going to adjourn the meeting now. And again, thank board members and all of the members of the township staff who were here this evening, Mr. Arneo, Mr. Reese, Mr. Gillis, Mr. Miller, obviously Mr. Gray and all the work he does day in, day out, and the rest of our professionals for all their work, and Ms. Pullen as well for spending some time here with us a couple nights a week, a couple nights a month. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Here he comes.